For what I've been playing this last week, it is the same as the previous weeks, which is Trails Through Daybreak, and I've just been kind of hammering through it. I believe last week I was 85 hours in. I believe I am now 115 hours in, so I've, progressed 30 hours. And it is still not done, and I have zero issues with it. I know I mentioned this last week, but the pacing of the game is perfect. Like, there's literally no slow points. It's just literally going through the game loop of like going to a town, investigating, doing quests, doing dungeons, getting a fuck ton of story, and repeat. And like, it all feels fresh. Nothing feels repetitive because we're always going to new towns. Even in terms of the game loop, they do different things. I'll talk about kind of what's happening in the chapter I'm in right now when I go to the end of the segment, because I don't want to put the light spoilers at the start. And so I'll be talking about that. But yeah, it's just been really fucking cool. And just a couple of notes, like I've been writing notes as I play the game, and I just have like one note that I wrote while I was playing the game, which I kind of want to mention. But one thing that I appreciate that this game's been doing is they actually make you feel the size of the world. Like I mentioned, this game, you're traveling a lot, so you're in the main capital of Calvert, which is Edith, but you'll go to Cray or Longport or Longlie or whatever, and usually when you go to these towns, you're driving there. So Van, he has a truck, he drives there, and the thing that I very much appreciated is that you actually do feel the time, because in the older games like Trails of Cold Steel, you did travel to places, and usually, for example, Trails of Cold Steel 1, you take the train there, and usually what they would do is you'd have some cutscenes on the train. You could play a card game, then they'd have like this kind of map cutscene of getting there, and like that was good. It felt like a trip. But this game, I noticed like specifically, it is really making the trip feel long, which I love. And the way they're doing that simply is just having a lot happen in the trip. So like, we'll start the trip, we'll be in the car, there'll be a cutscene of them talking about whatever. They'll then transition to the cutscene of a map showing us go a different distance. It will fade out. Then it'll fade back in and we're still in the car, and then they'll be talking about something else. They'll be talking about some other plot important thing, or something will happen, or like some situation will happen, or like a car pulls up and you have to talk to someone or whatever, and then that entire cutscene will happen. It'll fade out, it'll fade back in. You're still in the car, you're doing shit. Like, they will keep coming back to the car and like hammering you with new story developments or character moments or character introductions that will happen during this trip. And they'll do this like 2, 3, 4, 5 times, to the point where like by the time we get to the town, I'm like, oh shit, I've completely forgot that, like, yeah, we're going to a new town, where it literally feels like you're on a trip, which is amazing that they do that, because you're literally in a car. They're not changing the setting or anything. It's just like Van's driving. They'll do little small things, which I love, is when they fade back in, they'll sometimes just switch where people are sitting. So sometimes Van will be in the back seat and Aaron will be driving, or like later in the game, there's more people that can drive. And so doing little changes like that, and again, having cutscenes of them talking about certain character moments, or kind of using it as a spot to kind of put all the information together, or introducing a character. They've introduced a character during these things. Sometimes they have like mini game type things where like at one point you had to race someone, and they made you choose choices of like how to drift at a certain turn and things like that to win the race. And they do so much in every trip where like, yeah, I just like really appreciated that I actually feel the distance going from one city to the next, because the distances are long. There are some drives that in game they do take like 6, 7, 8 hours, and so them kind of having this mechanic, I guess you can say, of like fitting a lot into each trip, I just really appreciated, because it just felt very real. So that's just something I really want to mention. Now, from here, I'll talk about a bit more specifically about the game. I won't go too specific. I will talk about what's happening in the game. But so like, if you want zero spoilers, skip to the next segment. But I'm on chapter 5. The thing is, this chapter feels like a finale based on what's happening. But the farther I go into it, I'm not sure if it is, because when you talk to NPCs, it straight up feels like the NPCs are like chilling. They're talking about like, yeah, next month's gonna be this festival, I can't wait to go to it. And like, a lot of NPCs are mentioning that. And if you've ever played a Trails game, whenever an NPC mentions an event, that event will usually happen. And the weird thing is that event is in a month, but it feels like we're at the finale right now. So I don't know if like, is the game gonna end abruptly, because it can. Trails games have ended abruptly, or is this not actually the finale? One of the reasons I don't think it's a finale, because I feel like the Trails games, usually whenever you're in the finale, the chapter would be called finale, but it's not. But the reason why I think it's a finale, which I'll just let you guys know, so again, spoilers if you don't want to know anything about this game. But we are in a city, and pretty much what's happening in the city is that the main villain group is here, and pretty much every single faction that we've known throughout the game is in this city trying to take down the bad guy group. So it's you, it's Bracers, it's Hayoe, it's Ikaruga, it's like fucking like 5 Jaeger groups. It's like every single faction you could think of, they're all in this one city secretly, and pretty much you have to go underground and do this game that the bad guy set up, where you have to go through dungeons and beat one of the bosses, and you have to keep going forward until you actually get to kill the final or beat the final villain. And so with that being the case, like that literally feels like the end of the game. I'm like, okay, we're gonna do all that, get to the villain. But again, it doesn't feel like, while that sounds like the final game or the final chapter, it doesn't really feel like it. Everything's pretty chill. Trails games usually have like a lot more climactic endings, and so right now, we'll see. I'm pretty much finished the entire game that the bad guy set up, and I'm literally about to go to the final boss. That's what I'm going to be doing the next time I play. And so I guess I'll see if it ends abruptly. It really can. I'm not going to go into spoilers, but like Trails of Cold Steel 1 ended very abruptly. Trails of Cold Steel 3, I think, ended abruptly. And so, because those games I kind of consider more like duologies, like Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2 is one story. Trails of Cold Steel 3 and 4 is one story. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Trails to Daybreak 1 and 2 are one story, especially because they're named 1 and 2. I wouldn't be surprised that if I go to the final boss, maybe there's like, I fight him, he drops some fucking bomb of information, and then the game just ends. Because again, not too many spoilers, but Trails of Cold Steel 1 literally ended with the final boss talking. He dropped some fucking cool information, and then the screen just went black and said to be continued. And I was like, what the fuck? So I wouldn't be surprised if Trails to Daybreak did that either. I am keeping it mentally that like the game may end abruptly and I'll be sad then, but I'll be looking forward to Trails through Daybreak 2 too. And again, this game is like, this is probably the best bang for your buck game you can buy. Like, if I fucking like knew a kid who wanted a game and like it'd be worth his money, I'd be like, yo bro, buy Daybreak. I'm 115 hours in and it doesn't feel like it's gonna end yet. Like it's amazing, like it's insane. And I know I play longer than usual. I mean, longer compared to other people, where I do every single side quest, I talk to every NPC, but like even if you cut that out, like the game is still like a very long game. And so yeah, it's just like, if you have not picked up Daybreak, pick it up. It's so fucking good, and you don't have to play the other Trails games. There are some characters that come from the old games, but like you don't need to know it because like they introduce to the new characters anyway. So like, if you haven't played this game, trust me, play it. It's really fucking good. But some other things that I'm really liking about this game too is like, I'm really liking the towns in the game. Like I was recently in a town called Longlai, which kind of connects to a thing that happened in Reverie, which is very cool. And that town is fucking beautiful, and so the locations have been very nice. Graphically, I'm just really enjoying this game. The cutscenes have been very cool because once in a while they will go into, I don't know if I'd consider them CG cutscenes, but they will go into these cutscenes that you can tell have higher fidelity animations. And so recently, I won't spoil it, they had a cutscene where like Van was just fighting someone. It was like a good like 20 seconds of him fighting in a cutscene. It looked really fucking cool. And so yeah, it's just been really nice. But this game has just been such a fucking nice experience. And so maybe next time I record an episode, I'll be done. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if I am done, because like I mentioned at the start of the podcast, next week is gonna be a special episode. And so next time I talk about this game again is going to be technically in 2 weeks for me. And so by then, assuming I have time to play, I will maybe be done the game, and then I can give my final thoughts on the entire plot of the story. Because like I said, I've been right. I have a long ass fucking Apple Notes doc of every single thing that's happened in the game and how I felt as I'm playing it. And so I'm gonna have a good idea of how I feel about the game by the time I'm done. But yeah, that's what I've been playing, and I've been enjoying it a lot. And we'll see at what hour it clocks in at, because I'm at 1:15. We'll see if I'm near the end. If this is the final chapter, I assume this is gonna clock in at about like 1:25 maybe. I don't know if there'll be like a post story thing, but yeah, it'll be probably like what, sub 1:30 or somewhere around that if I am on the final chapter. But yeah, Trails to Daybreak has been amazing.